Hello everyone, my name is Daniel and you are watching Coin Help You. This is an ANACS submission, and each one of these coins were either submitted under the mint error or variety tier at ANACS. ANACS. ANACS is a grading company. They're one of the top three. Well, these were sent in, and every one of these coins were found in bank rolls. Rolls that were from a bank, okay, and they were all hand wrapped by people. Talk to a teller, maybe you can get some rolls like this. I don't know. I don't know how many you have to look through, but I bought these from someone who did that. Now, they told me with the submission and all, it was pretty much a break-even proposition for them. But they got some varieties that they wanted to have for their collection in a high enough grade, and they was able to keep a couple of them. So I got the rest. So I'm going to show these. Now, there are 3 98 white AMs, and there are 3 2000 white AMs. They're all the same. I'm going to show all 3 of them. I'm going to show one example of each, any of the duplicates. Also, we're going to look at these under a microscope. The microscope that I did a review of, I still have it. I rarely use it, and I don't recommend always using the microscope, but this time we're going to use a microscope. We can talk about these coins a little bit. I will try to explain a few things, and also we can look at the value. We'll have that pop up on the screen as well. So let's get started. So this is the box that they come in. I already opened it up. I took a look at them, had to make a little plan. And here is how they look when they come. PCGS sends them in a plastic box, and ANACS sends them in cardboard. Okay, the first coin is a 1954 D over D over D, and it's mint state 65 red. And we will look at this. It's the RPM 1, and it's actually an FS 501. If you don't know what that means, it's Vivez Stanton. That's the initials for them. And this is how you catalog the varieties. Those two guys were, they did a lot of research and are the names that are well known for varieties for Lincoln cents. And, it's important to know that kind of thing. It's important to look that up. And obviously, double dies, you'll see 101 and different things like that. So there's a classification of varieties and die pairs. So on this one here, we're going to take a look, and we're going to look at the D mint mark. And like I said, it's a nice red coin. We're not going to look at the entire coin because the main important part is this D over D over D. You can see it here. You can see in this image, you can see inside the opening. Now, I want to make this clear. When you're looking at circulated coins, there's often debris. Sometimes you can take a little toothpick and you can get some of the debris out and not hurt the coin, but you want to be careful not to scratch anything or take any of the original patina off. Sometimes you have to identify this. But you can also see above the D, and that's important because you want to be able to see that clearly. You can see the loops of the D. You can see that it's got 3 Ds on it here. And what happens is you see the end of this pin. You see how small that mint mark is? The mint marks were hand punched. That's why they call them repunch mint marks, or, like they were by a hand punch. Someone had a little hammer. They had a little steel rod, and on the end of that steel rod, incused was this mint mark. And they had to go to the die, and they had to literally pound this mint mark into that die. And I watched a video on it. They spent all day doing the dies. There were several of them at the mint. And he said sometimes the rods would break. Sometimes you would strike it in the wrong position. And he said it was a tedious work. And he said sometimes, you had to repunch it because you didn't hit it hard enough. And so that's a lot of different things went into play with these because they were so tiny. I mean, it's small. This is a head. Like I said, one more time here. This is the head of a pin. I mean, that's a tiny, tiny thing to have to punch onto a die right in a certain position. So you can see why there was a lot of repunch mint marks. So next one here, we're going to show you. This one here is a 53 D over D, and this one was actually graded mint state 64, and this one's the FS 501. And it's also important when you're looking at this number, if there's a 502, it may be worth less than the 501, but there's still repunch mint marks for 1953 D. That's very important to note. You need to know the exact variety a coin is to see how much it's actually worth. That's why it's important to have clear images or actually have to see it in hand. Me, I just don't attribute coins here at the shop or over the phone or try to do it in images. I can help someone say, yeah, it might be an RPM, but that's for the experts, the guys that have the names, like these two guys here, or someone from like Wexler's or Coneca. You know, if you go over to Coneca's forum, there's guys there that sometimes will accept submissions and things like that. I have a guy on my Coin Help community, Paul. He's a Wisconsin Coneca representative, and he will actually look at your coins for you. You can send them to him. So anyways, moving on to the mint mark here. This one here is a little less obvious as the other one. And I'll try to focus in, make sure I'm focused. Yeah, when you're looking through plastic, this is plastic. I mean, obviously it's not going to look the best, but you can see remnants of the mint mark to the left now. And it's probably to a little bit, there's the lighting. You can see it a little bit better that way. Sometimes you have to work the lighting on this, and sometimes you want to move the coin in different directions. But you can see it right here, right after the, and on the inside a little bit. It just depends on the angle. So that's a pretty neat coin there to find. And then we're going to move on to another one that's 1960 D over D, and this one graded mint state 65, so it got a little gem grade there. And this is the FS 502. And there's a lot of 60D, and this is a large date. There's a lot of 60D RPMs. So it's important to know which one, but none of them are extremely valuable. I mean, we're not talking about a lot of money here. But, you know, if you get a high enough grade, these can be worth some money. But most of these RPMs, most of your double dies, they need to grade pretty high to be worth money. You know, you're talking they need to be 65, 66, even 67 sometimes. This one's a little more obvious than the last one I showed you. But you can see it's a little more of a spread. And I'm going to say to the left here, the way I'm looking at it. And you can always see a little bit on the inside. And like I said, a circulated coin is going to be a little more difficult. I mean, it's easier whenever the coin's, you know, not been circulated. And it's in gem state like this, you can obviously see it. These are good examples to have that you can compare your coins to. And, you know, it's interesting. You can go in like coppercoins.com, for instance. They have all the different ones listed, or at least some of them. And you can see which 60D over D that you have. And this one here is one of the most confused and most difficult for people to attribute whenever they find one. And you can find these in mint stats sometimes and in rolls. This is a 1970S. It's mint state 62, and it is a small date. And the small date is listed as FS 1401. It's a date size or font variety. Now, what I want to show everyone is that not all of these will have a weak liberty or something different about the liberty. This liberty, you can see what it looks like. It's just not struck very well, but that's typical of a lot of your 70S small dates. But what people have trouble with, and what we're going to look at, is you see how the inside of the loop of the 9, I'm going to point it out to you here. You can see this right here. See that where the inside of the loop ends and it goes towards the middle of the 7 and the 0? That's a small date. You can try to eyeball the level, and you used to call it a level 7 and all that, but that's just the best way to do it, is to see that inside and see it's pointed. If it's on a large date, it will be pointing towards the mint mark, the S. That is my way of diagnosing, or at least attributing. That is my way of attributing this small date, this variety. And a lot of people will see die deterioration and they'll get it kind of confused. But when you have a large date as an example, and then you find a small date, keep it. Keep it and use it for reference. Bring it up on your screen, you know, blow it up. You can go to PCGS CoinFacts. They actually have large images you can see, and you will see this. You will see how that inside of that loop points to the middle of the 7 and the 0. That's one of the best ways of identifying this variety. And then moving along, we're going to show our first. This is a 1995, and some of you may already know what this one's going to be. It's a mint state 66, and it is the double die of verse, DDO. That's what that stands for, and FS 101. This is really cool. Now, on this one, you don't need to look at the date. Okay, I mean, it looks like there's a little die chip in the top of that date. That's common. You'll see that. You'll see the filled in dates, filled in mint marks, and things like that. That's pretty common. That's not going to be significant for anything. But if you come over here to the Liberty, look at that. This And like I said, when you're looking at these double dies, you most certainly want to turn the coin different directions. And if it disappears, then you know it's probably reflective doubling that you're seeing, or it's maybe even mechanical in nature. But no matter how you turn this one, you can see the extra thickness of the letters. And I'm not going to turn it all the way around here because the lighting, I can change the lighting if I need to, but I can look at it different ways. And you can literally see this one has enough spread on it that you can see it. And they're the same height and everything. I mean, this is what a double die should look like. Now, also, it's doubled on In God We Trust, counterclockwise. And we're looking at the coin. And you can see it here, and I can move the lighting so that you can see it a little bit better. But that's important, to turn the coin and the light and try to get a good idea of what it looks like. Not all double dies look like this. You know, some double dies are just a little thicker. That's why it's important to go to wexlersdoubledie.com and learn the different classifications. There's different classes. There's 1 through 8 of double dies. It's very important to know those. It helps you identify these because you'll know what class of double die you're looking at when you're looking at these. And, you know, it's just a wealth of knowledge over there to help you learn about double dies. So many people struggle with this and struggle with looking at double dies. But this is a nice one here. Then we are going to look at the reverse of this. We're going to show the label first. It's a 1998. And this one here is Mint State 64. And it's what they call the Type 2 Reversed Wide AM, FS901. And they call it the Proof, which they've got it in quotes because it's thought that these are proof reverse dies that were retired and struck business strike coins. So it's proof reverse hub design. So what you're talking about, and that's important information right there. A lot of people, what they do is they look at the A and the M only, and they say, well, it looks wide to me. It looks close to me. I'm going to tell you this. There's only a wide AM and a close AM. There's no almost, there's almost not close or closer. There is die deterioration. And not only that, when you look up here at the E and the S over here, you can see the gray or the silver look. That's zinc. This is copper plated zinc planchet, and that's split plating, and that's caused from die deterioration. It's normal. It doesn't add any value to the coin. But what's important here is we're looking at the A and the M. You can see that there is a space, okay? Even close AMs are not completely touching. They're just close. But this here is obviously wide. But what people fail to look at is on some of these is the designer initials. The designer initials are a certain distance from the memorial base. Okay. It's over here. And also the F and the G are a different font, especially the G. You see how the G has a little hook inside and it comes down? On a normal close AM, the G is a little less fancy. Okay, and the distance is different for the F and the G. You have to look at that as well. Definitely want to match all of the what they call pups pickup points on these instead of just looking at the A and the M. The A and the M, and I see it too with the close AMs like the 1992. People see a damaged A and M and they think, could it be? Could it be? You know, if it's damaged, you're going to get questionable at the best when it comes to the grading companies. It's just kind of a waste of time to argue and carry on about it because it's just damaged coin. That's the main thing. So next, we have a couple of mint errors to look at. And this one, we're going to, it's a 2000 cent, obviously. And it is what they call a broad struck indent. Okay? And it's Mint State 65 red. And we're going to look at this coin because so many people get things confused. Now, this is in cuse. This is into the coin. This was, like I said, it's an indent. Something was struck into the side of this coin. And, you know, the rest of the coin is fairly normal. Now, the reverse has a little bit of issue from it. But the rest of the coin is you know, like I said, it's got your plating issues and things like that. It has some issues from where it was struck like this. And, you know, when something's broad struck, it wasn't struck completely inside what the collar die, the COLLAR, okay? That die is what retains the shape and the size of the planchet because whenever the hammer die comes down, if there's no retaining die there, it will literally spread out the coin. That's what they call a broad struck. So this one here wasn't completely retained, and obviously you can tell by the rim. I can't really show it here on the side how it is in the slab, but if we didn't have it in the slab, I could show you. And we can look at the reverse. And this is cool. I mean, this was found in a roll. And the reverse, like if this was a cud and this was all raised and cuds are only on the rim, you would see more damage on this side as far as you would see an indent. Okay. This shows a little bit of the issues from this being struck the way it is, the indent. But it's pretty cool to find, and actually find one in mint state 65 red. That's pretty cool to find out in a roll, you know, to get a 65. And then finally we have one more, and this is a mint error as well. And this one I see a lot. I found these before, 1981, and it's a mint state 62. And what they call this is struck through late stage capped die. Now, for those of you who do not know, and I want to show the coin here. It's kind of hard to see the coin, the details of it, but we are going to look at it here as I'm talking to you. A capped die is literally a coin that got stuck on the end of a die. Okay? And it forms like a bottle cap. And it keeps striking coins after coin after coin before they catch it. Sometimes they fall off, but when they become so thin from striking planchets that they impart some of the design actually through that thin layer of copper that's still on that die. And that's why they call it struck through a capped die. Struck through capped dies are more common because they strike more coins than a capped die itself. A capped die itself is really valuable. These here are more common. You'll find them sometimes looking through rolls. A lot of people mistake damaged coins for these. You just have to study this. I mean, error-reference.com. Error-reference.com. And that's the best place to go and study these out. Go to heritage sold auctions and look at all the struck through cap dies. That would help you a whole lot. You can hardly see the date. And this is the thing about microscopes. You can see the date better without the microscope. Sometimes a microscope is not beneficial to looking at coins. You'll see all kinds of anomalies and different things and get it all confused. But this is what the obverse looks like. Okay. So you can see how the coin looks. And it actually has a little bit of a bend, almost looks like there through it. Somehow a little warpage or something, which is to be expected. Not all struck through cap dies look the same. Here's the reverse. The reverses are usually normal. And that's what she looks like. And we'll look at the obverse one more time. And like I said, I feel like I'm going to have to show you guys in the video here. So we're going to do that. So I want to show you the whole coin. And it's really cool. As you can see, you can barely make out the date until it's a 1981. You see, you know, so it looks like some field displacement there is what I was talking about, but it's pretty cool. And then we'll look at the reverse real fast. We've already looked at the coin, but like I said, it will be normal. So there you have it. There's the ANACS submission. I hope this helped you learn a little bit about these. And like I said, you know, go over to PCGS Coin Facts and WexlersDoubleDie.com and Error-reference.com and Coneca. I mean, we're talking about, you've got all these resources at your fingertips. You can look at your coins. You can learn to identify and compare and contrast and things like that to see what you have. And make sure you have the double die or the RPM. Remember, the FS numbers are very important. So, thanks for watching my latest video. Please comment, subscribe to my channel, and have a great day.